Palantir is an incredibly interesting and complex company, and because of the inherent complexity of Palantir, I think it's important to listen to the different people from within the company and hear what they have to say. And one of the questions that's been asked to Palantir time and time again is, does Palantir actually use their own technology? Meaning, does Palantir use Palantir to grow Palantir? And to answer this question, I'm going to play a recent interview that just dropped, where the architect is interviewing the CIO, or Chief Information Officer. And don't get it twisted, a CIO is not some bullshit position like a Chief Diversity Officer. The CIO is typically at the very top of the IT department within a company. The CIO is responsible for overseeing the organization's technology strategy, managing IT resources, ensuring that the technology initiatives align with business goals, and often guiding digital transformation efforts. So yeah, what's cool about Palantir's CIO is that he actually worked his way up from the bottom of the IT department as a temp. But I'm not going to waste any more of your time. Let's watch this interview.
I'm Chad Walquist. I'm an architect here at Palantir. One of the questions I get the most is, does Palantir actually use our own software to run our business? We tell you all these great things you can do with it. How do we use it? So I thought I'd go to the source of the truth here. We've got Jim Siders here, our CIO from Palantir. Thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
This is awesome. So maybe you've been here quite a while. Maybe you could share a little background of what you've been doing.
Yeah, I've been at Palantir since 2013, February of 2013. I joined as a temp contractor in the IT support help desk. In 2015, I moved to Palo Alto, which was then our headquarters, to be the first person in the company who spent all their time developing on Palantir internal tools for internal workflows at Palantir.
Wow. Well, I mean, I think that's where, a lot of mythology is like, oh, Palantir, they must have this crazy different system. But to start, we had an IT department just like everybody else. We had existing source system of records. We didn't have Foundry or anything. So we were just a normal IT shop building software, right? And so
Absolutely.
I think that's the interesting part about, kind of your story is we were like everybody else.
We are, in a lot of ways, we're both very like everybody else and very not. In 2014, 15, we were doing the same transformation that a lot of companies were at that time. We were becoming AWS first. We were becoming SaaS oriented across most of our systems of record in the enterprise. And now we're doing what a lot of other companies are doing also, which is realizing that that model doesn't scale terribly well. It doesn't lend itself terribly well to agility and affordability and the ability to iterate quickly over time.
Yeah.
Fortunately now, Foundry is a thing when it wasn't then. All of the things that have become buzzwords in IT over the last few years, democratized delivery and optimizing value chains in different ways and pushing things to the edge of the organization, Foundry's built for that.
Yep.
It's honestly the best thing we could have used. And I can only use the best things I can use. I don't get a freebie for using Foundry. It's just the best thing. Yeah. And I need it.
Yeah. And I mean, that comes back to, I get a lot of questions of like, wow, this can do so much.
Yeah.
When should I use it? When should I not use it? Well, I already have this data warehouse tool and I already have this ERP. And I think that's the interesting story too is, let's use the systems in the right way. This is their design. So if I've got a good ERP, okay, let's not reinvent the wheel. Let's use that and use Foundry to build that customization because we can move quickly. I think maybe a little bit on, the story you have around how we pick when we use Foundry or not, or even around how, the right way to use it, I think is a big thing we get a lot of questions on, right?
The right way for us, you gave me a great segue there. There's going to be systems that just still exist, right? Like if a giant company has spent many years trying to figure out how to be an excellent ERP in terms of really trustworthy general ledger transactions.
Yep.
I don't want to reinvent the wheel there, right? Auditors already understand how to deal with that. Investors already understand how to deal with that. But our company isn't shaped to engage with a tool like that the way that tool wants us to, if that tool even has an opinion at all.
Yep.
And we need to run the business in a way that's relevant for our business. Yep. So that's where the ontology comes in. It's like the definition of shaped the way our business is. It's objects that are semantically linked to how we actually do things. So instead of trying to use our ERP's expense tracking methodology, a group internally spun up a tool called Rocket, which is a suite of tools and dashboards that let our business manage expense in a way that's relevant for our business. And it's fueled record-setting excellent expense management over the last few years. It's really contributed to our bottom line.
I think maybe a little bit on your decision-making process about how and when and where to use the tools.
Yeah, we sort of joke internally, we're an and company, not an or company. That like fast, cheap, secure, you can only pick two is out the window. For us, the business I support won't accept it. So we need a situation where you have data layer that aligns with good governance and good compliance, that is compatible with people at the edge of the organization being empowered to solve their own problems in a world where the easiest thing has to be the right thing from a compliance or security perspective. And then you set people free on objects that really semantically accurately represent how you run your business. Let them solve their own problems instead of placing orders at the IT snack bar.
Yeah, I think you hit a good point on that, generating value over time. I think it's the flywheel effect I hear about all the time.
Yep.
Okay, I build these semantic objects. I have the people component. I have this component. That then allows you to build the next use case, the next use. So there's kind of that compounding value. Have you seen that as you're deploying this?
Tons, all the time actually. One of the things that I love about using Foundry as a process orchestration or ticketing system is that it encourages the dissolution of silos in an org rather than the strengthening of them. You have a lot of name your trouble ticketing or process automation suite. It tends to keep whatever optimization is created within the part of the org that created it. And obviously everybody will sell you a bolt-on thing to turn that into a shareable something. It goes to your integration layer. The only right way to use Foundry is doing that by default. So for example, the recruiting organization and people ops felt that it was really wasteful and time consuming, the process between when a hiring manager says yes to hiring a candidate and the time that person starts at the company. There's too many people, too many workflows, too many processes involved. So they encoded that in a Foundry layer to orchestrate those processes. A lot of the primitives that they had to come up with in the course of that work were noticed by the folks who run the offboarding process. When somebody decides to leave the company, there's a whole other set of workflows. They didn't want to stand in line and wait for developers to build that stuff for them. So those folks in the people ops organization built their own tool, kind of without really anybody even knowing, and then brought it to me, to the security organization, to internal audit, and said, can we use this in production? And it's production ready. It was production quality right out of the gate because they knew the problem space better than anybody else.
Yeah, that's fascinating. So I think that comes back to the value creation component now. Okay, you're talking about these builders. Maybe we could hit on the point of, I'm changing the outcomes for people that are building this platform because they're now focused, instead of on an IT stack, they're focused on value delivery for the business.
Yes. How
How is that transition and how are they doing it? Have we added headcount to do this? What are we doing in that transition from a change management?
Any person who runs an IT org is going to put up their hand and say they want to increase their headcount, I think. But no, actually, we haven't. The key for us was AIP.
Yeah.
It lets people with existing expertise be functional on a platform that they're just learning, and it forces them in a way to think about the fundamentals of what they're trying to do there, which aligns you with value by default, right? You can't be thinking about the constructs that exist in whatever this proprietary system is. You have to be asking AIP Assist or whatever the thing is you're addressing, how do I get this thing done? I want to accomplish this outcome. Here's how I would accomplish it in the platform I understand. How would I accomplish it here?
Yeah, and I guess what's the take from these employees as they're learning these new tool sets? I know some people from a change management standpoint, hey, this is my baby, this is my tool. I've built my 20-year career on being this expert for this.
Totally.
How have they adopted? Because I think that's a lot of fear from an IT manager standpoint. Is I love this tool, I love the direction, but now how do I get people to add value?
I had a lot of trepidation about that. When we first kicked off trying to start this flywheel spinning, it's how is somebody who works on MuleSoft all day going to respond to me asking them to think about Foundry instead? And honestly, in almost every case, people embraced it because they tend to know the systems that they've specialized in really, really well. That makes them really familiar with the shortcomings of those systems too, or the frustration with the pace of development at the manufacturer or whatever, right? Everybody knows that the support desk at whatever their platform company is terrible. They don't want to get in line there. What if they could just do that themselves? That would be insane.
Yeah.
Nobody went into these careers like wanting to sit in line at some support desk. They like wanted to help the business. They were passionate about something about the problem space or the solutions.
Yeah.
It set them all free. And honestly, the bigger challenge has been, for me, trying to gate things from rushing to production. Like making sure that we were checking all the boxes for internal audit and finance and security and legal, because all of the actual engineers in IT and in all the other internal teams are just like drunk on the Kool-Aid. They just like want to go do the thing, and they're finally getting to go do the thing. You know, one of our finance tooling engineers came up with a way to reduce cycle time on expense allocations as part of our monthly, like closing the books every month-end close, to reduce the cycle time on that from about 12 hours to something like 5 to 7 minutes.
Wow.
And the worst pressure that I've gotten from anything in the last year of my life at Palantir has been people demanding that we put that in production faster. Like, how do we get it through audit faster?
When we're talking about this, it's making me think, because we're transforming our internal teams to builders, which comes with build with AIP,
Absolutely.
AIP now. And so just like we are taking our way of operating and coding the product now, also with AIP now and build with AIP, we are taking that same build mentality that we're seeing internally and then giving that to our customers. So
Absolutely.
now we've got build camps. So now that we're going to have people in there building with us, people can sign up for their own accounts and log in, like, which is that whole builder mentality, which I think is what we're seeing the magic here is like, how let's bring that magic to everybody, right?
Absolutely. Our internal teams, as those other new efforts launched, were coming to me on a daily basis going, how do we get this idea of ours in the marketplace to make sure that people all over the place can get it? It's like, that's a really cool dynamic where people connect with the upside of the business in a way that normally in our teams it doesn't happen.
So this is exciting. I love all the journey, how kind of we got to where we are and what we're doing. Like, what's next? What do you see on the horizon?
It feels like the flywheel's really just spinning now. Like, I think this is the beginning. We're just now at the beginning of a multi-year project to deprecate one of the industry-leading ticketing and knowledge management systems in favor of internally sourced Foundry. We're in the process of deprecating our middleware layer between our ERPs to replace it with orchestrating all of those transactions with Foundry. We're in the process of moving away from the industry-leading SIM source solution in favor of Foundry. We have AI agents that are doing ticket routing across all of our ticketing work streams, across all of our recruiting work streams, and we're just getting started.
Thanks for joining me today. I really enjoyed the conversation. Just a couple IT guys talking shop here in Arkansas. I loved it. So again, thanks for traveling and joining me here.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. You know, we all joined Palantir because we love the company, love the mission. It's just I'm fired up to get the word out. So thanks for the opportunity.